Do you like catboys? Do you like wizards? Do you like the vibes of what we do in the shadows, but a little more sinister? Boy, have I got a treat for you. Now that it's October and edging closer and closer to Halloween season, I've been getting a lot of what we do in the shadows edits and random compilations of Laszlo Cravensworth saying really weird stuff.
This is the way we talk in Tucson, Arizona.
Just all over my TikTok. And I thought to myself, why don't I try to capture the essence of that show, but in character designs? I've done a vampire character design video recently though, so I was racking my brain as to what I could actually do instead of that and sort of do a mishmash of what we do in the shadows and something else. And I kind of just looked at my cats and at the same time was scrolling through TikTok and got that clip of Nandor screaming about drinking wizard's blood that it kind of just formed into one amalgamation in my head. So I've made toxic wizard catboys, but make them spooky. So without further ado, let's get started. This time around, I did a little more research and built up a bigger Pinterest board for each of the wizards, though most of said research consisted of scrolling through endless pictures of cats, which isn't a bad way to spend my day, honestly. I ended up picking 3 cats that I really liked the vibe of, which are this ragdoll, this grumpy goblin cat, and this smug Likoi. I don't know how to actually say this, but they looked like little werewolves, and I love that for them. I didn't really know how to pick their magic classes from there, so I decided to spin a wheel with a whole bunch of magic types on it and hope for the best. We got Necromancy, Divination, and Chronomancy, one of which is my favorite. 1,000 points to anyone who can guess right which one it is in the comments. I assigned Necromancy to the Likoi, Chronomancy to the goblin-looking cat, and Divination to the ragdoll. After that, I just went along with the stereotypical vibes we might see fashion-wise for each magic type. Necromancy is more medieval and severe with some corsets and classic mage gear. Divination is brightly colored with a sort of weirdness about it. And Chronomancy is more of a Victorian vibe. Take a shot every time I say vibe. My color palettes were chosen based on vibes I already had in my head, but I did do a cursory search for the magic name and then color palette. It was a little easier for Necromancy, of course, but I found some okay ones for the other 2 this way, and I finally got to sketching them. As much as I love Necromancers, this design was hard to nail down. I wanted each of the boys to have their own distinct body types, this one being sharp and lean. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted their hair to be spiky like the Likoi, but I enjoyed the thought that because their hair can be so sparse, and in general these cats need a lot of care, that perhaps they try to keep their hair long and well cared for, which turned into this long hairstyle and eventually became a braid. Because they like to keep themselves clean and well cared for, I thought it'd be cool to try and convey this through keeping their outfit orderly. I've given them leather gloves that come all the way down to their elbows to stop any staining of their skin from the work they do, and any extra bits that cling to their clothes are in a very particular placement or kept incredibly simple. Personality-wise, I think they try to come off as the Nadja of the group.
You did that.
But they're actually more akin to Moira from Overwatch or your choice of mad scientist. Out of the group, they're the evil mastermind that brings back the spirits of the dead to then put into the little plushes you'll see more of later. They're seemingly best friends with the Divination wizard, but I think they find him incredibly annoying and just a means to an end. I had a lot of fun playing around with the colors for them, making them a bit colorful and unassuming. Aside from all those bones. Even in their makeup, I tried to keep it colorful as much as it looks like bruising, but in the rendering, I tried to make it obvious that there's something else going on with them. I've got spirits behind them that represent the ghosts they bring back and put into the plushes, one of which resides in the creature they've been gifted from the Divination wizard, and there's this very strange green light behind them that gives horror movie villain. Out of them all, I think this one is my favorite, and I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I thought they might need extra detailing, but I ended up taking it out completely because the design looked better without it. Not gonna lie, I did really enjoy going ham with this design. Normally I draw a lot of lanky or Dorito looking men, so it was nice to kind of just make a silly little guy for this one. He's the youngest of the group, probably about 20 or so in human years, and is very gullible and silly. His whole personality is based off of that clip from What We Do in the Shadows, where Nandor is just going insane over creepy paper, as he puts it.
Creepy paper.
It's crepe paper.
Creepy paper.
Crepe paper, master?
Creepy. Oh, multi-pack.
Divination was an excuse to have fun. He's made out of a lot of contrasting shapes, but in a circusy or sort of clown type way. A lot of what I had on his board was a bit more whimsical and creepy rather than downright horrifying. I had this thought after I saw these adorable fellows that he uses his magic to contact the spirits of the dead, and the Necromancer places the spirits within the little plush toys, mostly as a temporary thing for shows or seances. Maybe that's how they make their money, or it's some sort of scheme that the Necromancer made, but also because the Divination Wizard likes to have friends around. Whether or not they want to be there is debatable. I did say these 3 were toxic catboy wizards, right? These 2 more than the last one, unfortunately, but you know, what can you do? I wanted to use a mishmash of colors for his palette, and I think I managed to make them cohesive enough. There's an old-timey or like AHS circus vibe to the way I rendered things, which I really like, though I think most of his horror is thrown out of the window by the amount of bells on his outfit. This catboy is not built for stealth. Anytime he moves, he just makes the worst jingling sound on the planet, which I think annoys the Necromancer to no end, and sort of annoys the Chronomancer wizard as well, but he won't say it at all. But maybe he can use that to his advantage at some point. Who knows? He's best friends with the Necromancer, and I don't think he really sees that they find him annoying. He's kind of stuck in his own world and is happy to stay that way. At least for now, until somebody tells him otherwise. I tried to get that childlike or immature way of thinking across in his design by adding patchwork or mismatched patterns to everything, but I think what sells it are his little friends that he's made. He definitely comes in just below the Necromancer in terms of me really liking his design. I think he's the most cat-like. I did put pom-poms on his outfit for a reason, but I think if I went back, I'd add more texture or detail into his design. He's pretty cool though, and I just enjoy how sweet he looks. Alright, this goblin catman gave me the worst time on the planet. I'm being hyperbolic, of course, but he did give me a run for my money. Usually catboys are portrayed as forever young protagonists of anime that just go nya at you until the sun comes up, but he is a catman. Make no mistake. Out of the 3 of these guys, he's the most practical and likes looking prim and proper. While he relates to the Necromancer because of this, he thinks they're really weird and kind of mean to the Divination Wizard, who he thinks of like a little brother. His whole outfit is supposed to look pristine and professional, though that suit is gonna get really dirty later because I do in fact color it white. Anyway, he's a perfect Victorian gentleman who only uses his magic when he absolutely has to and is the most bookish out of the 3 of the boys. Complete opposite of Laszlo, unfortunately, really dropped the ball on that one. I tried to make him toxic, but I think in the end he's just more not gullible like the Divination Wizard, but it's easy to pull the wool over his eyes, let's just say that. Trusting, maybe. I didn't really struggle with coloring this big lad, but the render was a whole other issue, unfortunately. The other 2 I sort of knew what I could do as a background, but time is such a nebulous concept that I was at a loss for him. So I kind of just used a weird cloud brush and ended up changing the original shapes from behind him into his magic ball, which I do really like the shape of. I called it the Singularity in my head, and that certainly means something, but I don't have time to do more world building to figure it out yet. If you want more catboys, maybe I'll figure that out for a future video. If I don't entirely redesign him in the future, I think I'd try to incorporate more hourglass motifs and symbolism into his design. I tried to with his brooch, and in the way I shaped his lapels. I think those are lapels on his coat, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted, unfortunately. He still looks pretty good, but in the end, I just kind of feel that his design is weak. But it's important to share our favorite designs as well as the things that only sort of worked out in the end. Such is the life of an artist. Thanks for sticking around. I really hope you liked these catboy wizards, and if you want more of them, let me know. If you'd like to make suggestions for future character design videos, go ahead and drop those in the comments down below. Let me know what you're gonna dress up for Halloween as well. I'd like to know. I'll be sitting in my living room with my husband, eating candy while we play Dragon Age the Veilguard, which comes out that day. Probably crying a whole bunch. Sounds like the perfect way to spend the evening. If you like my content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. If you super like my content, go ahead and consider becoming a patron or a channel member. It really helps me in this horrible capitalistic society that we live in today. Just remember, Don't look in the attic. That's where I'm keeping all of my cat boys, and they are really, 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 really hungry. Thanks. Jacques, Herald of the Dark Roast. Meg, Exarch of the Golden Egg. High Artisan Anonymous Bee. Great Alpha Wolf Squilliam William. Nairuz, Seer of Rosy Mercy. Ghost, Infernal Collector of the Damned. Golden Paladin Court. Isabella, Redeemer of Bad Himbos. Keeper of the Lapin Warren, Robin. Most Royal of all the Rats. Ethereal Consort of House Vicarian. Fungal Sovereign Taz. Exalted Curator Wick. The Under-Elf of Delphinia. Paragon of Starlight. An impossible amount of rat babies. Divine Herald Jordan. Estrella, Sage of the Outer Realms. Wretched Sauce of House Worcestershire. Champion Pallypunk of the Immortal Valley. Tailor of Macabre Coney Livery. Eternal Apostle Austin. The Contingent of Fables. The Eminence of Light, Bunny. Exarch of the Ornate Tomb. Harley the Sanguinous. Grand Overlord Silas. Being of Exalted Sunlight. Delegate of Clan Latineurs. Eternal Consul Puja. High Magi Katie. The Herald of Wrens. Knight Susan of the Milkiest Order. Great Seer Clare. And Sir Matthew, Guardian of the Preserved Apiary.